So let's just jump right in. We've all been told that to get big results, you need a huge revolutionary plan, right? A grand vision. But what if that's all wrong? What if the real secret to massive change isn't some giant leap, but a bunch of tiny, almost invisible steps? Today, we're going to look at why these small, steady improvements almost always crush the big, flashy plans.
Okay, get this. A massive Fortune 500 company, you know the type, spends a year and a half, 18 months, cooking up this perfect, revolutionary AI strategy. They roll it out with this huge launch, all the fanfare, and just 6 weeks later, it completely collapses. We're talking total public embarrassment. But here's the kicker. And the very same company, another team, a really small one, was just quietly running these little AI experiments every week. And guess what? 6 months in, with zero hype, they were the company's biggest success story. That massive contrast? That's what this is all about.
All right, so here's what we're going to cover in this explainer. We'll kick things off with why those big plans fail so hard. Then we'll look at two totally different ways to think about change, Kaizen versus Kaikaku. We'll get into the psychology of why small steps are just so darn effective, and why AI is a total game changer for this whole conversation. Then we'll walk through how you can take your first tiny step, and finally, we'll unpack the mind-blowing power of just a 1% improvement.
So first up, why do these huge moonshot projects crash and burn so often? It really boils down to a deep misunderstanding of how change actually works in the real world. While that company's grand strategy was imploding, that little team was winning with a completely different playbook. Let's dig into why.
I mean, there's just something so appealing about a big, heroic plan, isn't there? A moonshot that promises to fix everything in one go. Our brains are absolutely wired to love those kinds of stories. But here's the problem. That same brain wiring makes us really bad at sticking with the massive, disciplined effort these huge plans demand. We get overwhelmed, the energy fades, and poof, the whole thing just falls apart. And this brings us to a really fundamental choice we have to make when we want to change something. It's captured perfectly by two Japanese concepts, Kaizen and Kaikaku. And believe me, they are two totally different worlds.
So first, you've got Kaikaku. Think of this as the big leap. It's the revolution. It's all about radical, disruptive, all-at-once change. This is the classic mindset you see in traditional waterfall project management. You know, where you spend ages planning every single detail down to the last nut and bolt before you even think about launching. It's that heroic story we can't seem to resist.
And on the other side, you have Kaizen. Kaizen is the complete opposite. It's the small step. It's the philosophy of continuous, tiny, gradual improvements. It's not about a revolution, it's about evolution. And this is the engine that drives modern approaches to product and service management, like Agile. It's a slow, steady, never-ending process of just getting a little bit better day after day.
And when you put them side by side like this, the difference is just wow. Kaikaku is a revolution, a one-shot deal. Kaizen is a continuous evolution. But look at that last row. That's the most important part. Kaikaku is this huge, high-stakes gamble. It can be totally overwhelming. Kaizen, on the other hand, breaks change down into these tiny, low-risk, totally manageable steps. It actually builds your confidence instead of crushing it.
So let's talk psychology for a second. Why is the Kaizen way so much more powerful? Well, it turns out it's a brilliant way to hack your own brain's built-in resistance to change. You gotta love this idea. It's called the embarrassment principle. See, when you suggest a massive change, your brain's alarm system goes off. It screams threat, danger, too much work. But what if you make a change so small, so tiny, that it feels kind of silly not to do it? You know, like reading just one page of a book, or doing one single push-up, or automating one tiny little task. Your brain doesn't see a threat. It just goes, oh, okay, I can do that. And just like that, you've bypassed all the resistance.
And this kicks off this amazing positive feedback loop. Every little win builds your belief that you can actually do this stuff. Psychologists have a term for it, self-efficacy. With a big plan, you have one giant moment where you either succeed or fail. But with Kaizen, you're basically always succeeding at something small. And if something doesn't work, it's not a disaster. It's just a little, safe, cheap opportunity to learn something new.
Okay, now let's bring this right into the here and now. Because this philosophy isn't just a nice idea, it's becoming absolutely essential. The rise of AI completely shatters the old way of doing things. The idea of a rigid long-term master plan, it's pretty much obsolete. Just think about the core difference here. Old school computing is deterministic. You put in A, you always get out B. You can plan for that. But AI? It's probabilistic. Its behavior isn't always predictable. It emerges, it evolves. You literally can't create a rigid 5-year plan for a technology that's changing while you're writing the plan. The only way to win is to constantly adapt, to learn and adjust on the fly.
Okay, so enough theory. Let's make this real. How does this actually look in practice? Let's go back to that small team from our story, the one that was quietly winning while the big strategy was going up in flames.
So this team's goal was pretty simple. Use AI to help out with their customer service inbox. Now, the traditional Kaikaku way would have been to start a massive, year-long project to build the perfect, all-singing, all-dancing solution. But nope, they chose the Kaizen path.
Their very first step was so small, it was almost funny. In the first week, all they did was get the AI to draft responses for one single type of email, password resets. That's it. And you know what? It worked. So the next week, they added shipping updates. A few weeks after that, account closures. With every tiny, safe step, they were learning and getting better.
And the result of all these tiny steps? In just 2 months, without a giant budget, without any massive risk, their AI was handling 40% of the entire customer inbox. Think about that. They got that result faster, safer, and with way more real-world learning than that big bang project could have ever hoped for.
So how can you do this yourself? It's actually really simple. First, pick one single improvement that's so small it feels almost embarrassing. Second, just tweak that one little thing. Don't try to change the whole system. Third, and this is so important, just watch what happens, observe and learn from it. And fourth, just do it again. Repeat the cycle. That's it. That's the engine of Kaizen.
Now, let's pull the camera back for a second and look at where the real magic happens. Because it's not about any single step. It's about what happens when they all add up over time. This is the true, incredible power of Kaizen.
1%. It sounds like nothing, doesn't it? So small, it's almost insignificant. But a 1% improvement done over and over and over again is maybe the most powerful force for change that exists.
This is all about the power of compounding. You know, like interest in a bank account. Getting 1% better every day doesn't mean you're 365% better at the end of the year. No, it multiplies. The curve starts off slow, sure, but then it just takes off like a rocket. It's a sustainable, accelerating growth curve, totally different from the big boom and bust cycle of a massive launch.
And, this is about so much more than just process. It actually changes the entire culture of a team. When experiments are small and cheap, failure stops being scary. It's just learning. This creates what's called psychological safety, and that is the absolute bedrock of any great team. It builds a kind of change resilience, where adapting just becomes a normal habit. And it unlocks all this creativity that you only get when people feel safe enough to try things and maybe not get it right the first time.
So, all of this really leads to one final, and I think crucial question for you. Just for a second, forget about the giant 5-year strategy. What's one tiny, maybe even embarrassingly small improvement you could try tomorrow? In a meeting you run, in a process you use, in a single daily task. What's your first step going to be?
Seriously, give it a try. Just pick that one little thing and see what happens. We would absolutely love to hear about it, so please jump into the comments and let us know what your embarrassing step was and what you learned. We always read the feedback, and it helps us make these explainers better. And of course, if you want to go deeper on this stuff, make sure you check out the links in the description below. Thanks so much for watching.